Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we've got another restream of the Link to the Past No Major Glitches League. We've got ourselves Dark World Round 1 between Buane and FoxLisk. We've got ourselves Clearmouth and Malmo on comms today. Take it away.
Yo, good evening. This is almost, not even random, this is Vanilla, almost after dark. How's it going, Melmo?
It's good. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I'm actually pretty excited for this particular match. Right, as mentioned and as seen, we have Buane versus Fox, two pretty well-known people, not only necessarily from Vanilla. I would say just in general, very well known for this game in particular, right? Very strong NMG runners. Buane is, of course, part of the pretty exclusive, I would say, 123 club with a 123.55 PB. Fox, though, only 35 seconds apart from Buane's PB, 124.30. We have some pretty elite runners. Gonna be a really good match, especially with PB so close.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this a lot. I know for a fact Fox is a lot of fun to watch. Buane as well has the adaptability that comes from a rando player.
Oh, heck yeah.
Just looking forward to see some backup strats, the sort of things you see in races, but also hoping for a good run from both runners. So it looks like we're going to be starting shortly. Just give it a little 20 seconds or so, and we'll be heading into the escape. The escape is a good way to kind of gauge the runner's movement. You expect that runners at this level to have pretty clean movement, and they practice this segment a lot. Fox tends to run no reset styles, so he doesn't do as much escape grinding as people like Eddie, but he's still very, very capable.
Yeah, and I think actually Buane also doesn't really. I mean, I think he tends to complete runs, as often as he can. I don't really think he is like super reset heavy, but probably tries to find a good balance.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to play the video game.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course, we've already gotten our first challenge, getting through the Uncle Text. Text mashing is, in fact, quite. It's not necessarily underrated, but it is something that, especially when you first pick up the speedrun, pick up the game, you're like, oh yeah, like you can lose a surprisingly large amount of time just on text mashing. So something certainly to be cautious about. Also good, of course, for both Buane and Fox to reject some of their rando muscle memory into not opening up the first chest in Link's house.
Yeah,
we're definitely going to get our a little bit later.
Not just rando, other categories get that chest too.
Yes,
it can
that's
be very
true.
tough
That's true.
Remember which one you're running.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would say that's probably more true for Fox, right? Because Fox tends to run a lot more like glitches, stuff like RMG. I guess like Buane also did. I think both of them participated in like all Dodges RMG tournaments before. Probably Buane just like less so recently.
Yeah, Fox has done some kind of niche meme RMG categories, so that's some slightly more glitches. He's also very capable in the major glitches shoes. Used to hold the world record in all bosses no EG for a while.
Oh wow!
Probably
really?
very used to getting that chest in Link's house.
Yeah. Yeah, good thing in this case they both have been kind of practicing up. Yeah, I know that of course the No Logic lead right now is also starting. I think at the end of this month. I think that, at least especially Fox is kind of practicing. Yeah.
Fox has been like a main pusher of No Logic Rando, despite originally like when I met him, he didn't play Rando at all. He only played spoiler. Despite like that attitude, he's been really into the Rando lately and has probably picked up a lot of adaptability skills that he may not have had before now.
Yeah, no, that's actually really great to hear. Yeah. I was gonna say though, like I think so it sounds like kind of Fox is trying to probably get a lot more rando into the mix versus kind of coming back to NMG. I think Buane has done his like occasional like NMG run here or there, also kind of done the occasional rando, so it's certainly going to be like pretty good to see. Might be on, I would say, like relative, maybe equal-ish footing in terms of being active, at least for NMG. Certainly has not shown any rust so far though, both of them expertly getting the boomerang. One of course the nicest, like actually saves quite a bit of time, actually just be able to boomerang over some of the items, and Keys already getting bullied on Buane's side with the green card. Oh my gosh, we're already losing. But everything's fine, Buane. Don't worry about this escape.
Escape doesn't matter. I promise by the end of this race you will forget. You will forget everything that happened in the escape.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. No worry about getting bullied by green guards. Of course, we see our lamp, and right. It looks like both of them also went for the A/. Buane does get, unfortunately, a little bit hurt, but I think he's only down only an extra heart. Probably not going to be a big deal. Nothing after the first boss of the of the game, quote unquote. Ball and chain guard is really going to do that much more damage. It's really just going to be like almost like a mini swamp-esque type of preview, right? Just so you can get like nickeled and dimed in terms of damage, but nothing too, like fatal.
Yeah, I would almost say penny to nickel because of how little health they have and how little hearts they do in terms of damage.
It's maybe even like half pennies.
It's like the 1910s when the penny actually meant something.
Yeah, that's true.
Half heart you actually need something in the escape.
Stupid inflation. We should go back.
I can't believe gas costs like 4 hearts now.
Oh my god. let's change such scenarios. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. This is a too much speed up time here. Like we're not even actually return box like an hour away, and like we're already getting like so much more damage.
So yeah, we're coming up into a very surprisingly technical room. Getting these clean stair pumps going to the left here, and then canceling the text box correctly and pushing the mantle the exact number of pixels you need. Fox got an extra pixel, losing a little bit of time.
Yeah, already, kind of giving Buane a little bit of time back. Now, I think we were told before the stream started that, according to Fox, he is watching the restream, so everything that... Well, I guess okay, he's watching the restream. I don't know if he's actually listening to the restream, but I think he at least has an idea of, in this case, where Buane is at all times. Hopefully he's not going to get, too much mental damage from that early, pixel loss and escape. Buane, though, on the other hand, sounds like he is going to be checking in to at least Fox's stream, maybe here and there. So I think otherwise, I think he's just going to, keep his head down and play his game.
There's a little bit of strategy that can go into racing. If you're already behind pace, you might as well play as the race. If you're on pace, Buane knows that if he's on pace, he's ahead, unless Fox is doing crazy well. But in the race setting, usually that's not what happens. Usually you have a bit more of a dynamic play between the players.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Actually, it looks like a...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so actually it looks like, Fox got actually a little bit luckier, I think, with at least the rat drops for, at least, I can't think of Blue Ruby. He actually was thinking about getting it when he was trying to get the key rat. It looks like he at least opted not to. Might be just cost a little bit more time with the hesitation. Typically, you don't kind of get that choice, though.
Yeah, and neither runner gets the correct RNG for rat frames, and Buane is not missing nearly enough health to get beep frames, so this Xbox will not save 70 frames like you'd hope it would.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of potential race strategies, looks like actually, all right, Buane with that extra frame save thing. So that's right, with the chest turn, already miles ahead of Fox getting out of escape, but very well done on both sides.
Yeah, Fox got a little bit. Yeah. Fox got a little bit bullied in the snake room. He took out, he tried to cut the lane in the middle that they were creating for him, but he just got bumped. Didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like, actually kind of Fox had a little bit of trouble, I think, later on the back of escape, versus, Buane, of course, got a little bit bullied by that green guard at the front of escape. But otherwise, I mean, again, absolutely nothing catastrophic, unless, of course, you were just sweating the actual, like, 1 or 2 pixels or maybe a couple frames here and there. But in this case, that same card that we picked up, we are willing to sacrifice the 3 seconds for potential long-term safety. This, of course, one of the best known cases, of course, is when we first get to the Dark World. Everything hurts like twice as much, already, massive inflation incoming. Pretty much everything does 2 hearts of damage, with Helmasaur, for the Dark World's Palace of Darkness boss. But of course, Eastern Palace, surprisingly, is also pretty dangerous. Eastern Palace Overworld looks like both runners have at least escaped the bulk of the danger in the Overworld. Octorok certainly do hit quite a bit. But also, of course, Eastern Palace itself, right? All of the Igors do 1 heart of damage, regardless of the, of the armor you have. Certainly can, if something does go wrong momentarily, simply go wrong very quickly and very painfully.
Interesting difference in strats here with Buane booming the guard and Fox walking around the Popo, which is the same thing as a guard, because it's guarding the door. I think it's like kind of the same. I've heard it's like frames different. Sometimes you'll see people slash as well to try and advance the rupee drop. Buane already got a rupee drop in the escape, so like if they're counting those, then they shouldn't need to advance it. Also, looks like Fox is not a boomer of the small magic. Really hard to save time doing that. It's like it costs frames to boom and it gains frames and refill, and the difference is single digits.
Yeah, probably at this point, that these one frame, here or there difference is probably not going to make or break the race at this point. There's still going to be quite a bit of game left to play, and at this point, especially early on, especially maybe in a race setting, right? You might be just willing to kind of just go along. Speaking of, though, we are at least awarded on Buane's side. We've got a nice, shiny blue rupee straight in our path. So Buane is already not having to worry too much about his personal finances for this particular seed. Fox does need a little bit of money, but there are, again, lots of opportunities for him to pick up like 10 rupees somewhere.
And here's this room you think like, oh, you just walk in the straight line. No, they are contorting their fingers to pump their hearts out to gain every little bit of movement. Fox has to do a bit of a damage boost backup strat to get on that switch there. That room is very hard. I don't care how easy they make it look. It's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, right, and so, so on the one hand, right, so we have a 35-second PB difference between Buane and Fox, right, and not only, only 35 seconds, it's 35 seconds at the 123, 124 level, which is, ridiculous, right, so you know that these guys are both so good. We know they're going to be, very clean execution. Kind of on the other hand, I almost want to, to them be playing somebody, that's, I don't know, I don't want to say arguably worse, just so we can actually see, better appreciate just how good, and easy they make the rooms look. Right, because just kind of looking at them, you're like, oh yeah, of course I can do this, no problem. And then you actually try it, and you're like, oh, this room is really hard.
Yeah, case in point is you could see Buane trying to again squeeze frames out of that double anti-fairy room by sliding on the pots, and he actually misses the pot because of it. This is one of those almost too good to the point where you mess up because you're good. Where he actually just went a little bit too far on that frame saver and got a little bit of time back to Fox.
All right. Well, in terms of actually at least drops, at least both runners are kind of rewarded in this case, or not least punished, right? Buane ended up getting both arrow drops. I think and starting out basically with Armos, 30 and 27 arrows. So certainly shouldn't be too big of a deal.
Yeah, they're just the pendant drop apart, and Fox to take what I believe to be a slightly faster strat for Armos. Feel free to correct me on that one. Where you fire an arrow down.
That is an excellent question for potentially people who are probably more familiar with different Armos strats in chat. See a lot of very experts. Yep. All
right, I trust Sirius. Sirius is one of our best routers.
All right, so of course, with the Eastern Palace pendant pickup, excuse me, of course, one of the features of this game is that we finally at the 11-minute mark get to move fast. We actually can start the speed run versus the speed walk with the boots.
Yep, and this is our first glitch. Spin speed?
First minor beat. Yeah. First real minor glitch.
Yeah, and this is a Japanese 1.0 exclusive. We do run on the Japanese 1.0 ROM for a couple reasons. That is one of them. You can't do that glitch in any of the other versions.
Yeah, and actually with of course the spin speed is that we basically get to do boot speed, moving 4 pixels per second without actually having to incur the charge up time, which is in this case 30 frames. So something that basically could be really nicely done, especially you watch them basically just run across the street in this case without having to pause their dashes.
Yeah. So, and getting this little, this is spin speed not everybody goes for, but at this level you expected a little bit more to get to the library. It's one of those where if you miss the spin speed, you can try over and over again and lose a ton of time for something that doesn't save that much time.
Yeah, right. It's right, and so actually, I think it was as we're coming up to in this case, Fox looks like he actually missed that spin speed. But again, I think you're right about this, Mama. Like, basically, you kind of just want to try once. If you fail it, just start dashing. Like, it's probably not going to be worth your time. In order to basically retry the spin speeds. I think the only exception is probably the one going up to Hera, just because Death Mountain is just such a dangerous place, right? You really kind of want that super speed.
I think we would also see it in the screen going up to activate Flute after Pod, because there's a red guard there. Yeah, you actually have to pretty much have to have spin speed to outrun him. We call him Usain Bolt for a reason.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely see it different.
Yeah, the screen that they're doing is also pretty technical. There's a lot of things to run around. There's a lot of things that you could run into that slow you down, like the grass and the water. It doesn't look hard if you're just running, but it's really easy to lose a little bit of time here and there. And this is really what separates the 124 runners from the 125s and the 126s, as well as things like reacting to RNGs.
Oh yeah. I mean, right. So especially for like the I don't know, like the overworld streets, right? Running in tall grass, running in water, actually does reduce your speed, right? I mean, especially if you play this game casually, you just kind of notice that I do run a little bit slower, right? I think it's actually 3 pixels per second, as opposed to 4. And so, like, it's definitely quite the difference. So you really want. So when people say like, you really want your dash lines to be clean, like you want your dash lines to be exactly like avoiding those kind of traps.
Yeah, and to optimize a dash too, like if you're dashing, canceling your dash frame perfectly is how you optimize your dash, and most people aren't going to be capable of that, but you'll see it creep more and more towards that almost frame perfect stops. And remember, like you stop on the grid, so every 4 pixels, because you're moving 4 pixels per frame. Which means that stopping too early is going to put you like 4 pixels away from where you wanted to be. That's going to be a little bit of walking time if you're going to walk that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, not being able to stop in time, you have to kind of readjust. All of this little stuff, does, cost time. And maybe while it doesn't seem too big of a deal, like, on a one-off occasion, which it probably isn't, in the grand scheme of things. But, again, as you said, right, what separates kind of like the 123s and 124s is knowing basically how to minimize this type of movement.
Yeah. Some of it is mechanical and some of it is just knowledge, knowing which dashes are worth it. For example, that little dash out of the glove chest, actually worth it. Doesn't look like it is, but there is a bit of a slowdown you get after stairs, and dashing there negates that slowdown enough to make it worth it. We had a community member, Requiem of Spirit, actually do a whole bunch of timings and where you can start those dashes.
Oh, really?
And, very recently. It's the high-level NMG runners have been very grateful for that effort.
Alright, so talking about spin speeds in particular, right? The one out of desert coming into desert back is also kind of like one of those like dangerous ones. Again, sometimes actually it is also one of those where it is high risk, low quote unquote reward. I mean, it does save time, but you just have to make sure, again, good control, right, to be able to stop your movement when you need to, especially with potentially pause buffering could help. Is that if you go too fast, you can also just hop off the ledge, and then I hope you really like the front of desert because you get to do it again.
Casually approaching what's got to be one of the hardest boss fights in the game.
One of the best of the game, in my opinion.
It's such a tight test of archery skills and RNG counting that it's something you can practice for hours and still not even be close to mastering.
Yeah. All right. Looks like though, not maybe the best start for Buane. Only landing a couple arrows. Oh man, though, like Fox is really not having like any better luck. These first the first cycle pattern's been pretty awful.
Okay, that second cycle pattern though, where he was able to fire 3 up, was pretty fantastic. He might be able to clean this up. Not quite. He's getting a lot of short hops from that third one.
Yeah. So something's great. You just can't help. Yeah, quite, man. This is a neck and neck race so far. And neck and neck for all the levels. This is actually really great. Yeah, I was gonna say, right, so like the first cycle, RNG terms is technically fixed, right? It's actually just one of, I think, like, I want to say 48 patterns or something like that, maybe 24. Everything else is just RNG after that. Just have to be, again, reactions, right?
They do different dashes out of desert. It's interesting to see. But still transitioning at the same time. It's just incredible. Now, we are going up on, we have pretty tough dungeon in terms of RNG that you can react to. So it's a lot of boulders and moldorms coming up, and if you are really skilled, you can dodge them. But after that, there's a split with RNG you cannot do anything about. But we'll save that for when it happens.
Yeah, it looks like though actually neither of them had decided to actually use the boomerang in order to potentially try and maybe fend off some of the pickles up here. But both of them now, again, this is like it's literally synchronized flip, right? Like we both got like a very nice a clean executed fake flippers into the whirlpool. It doesn't have to necessarily stop or anything. And of course, one of the dangerous things about minor glitches here is that if you end up getting hurt in the fake flipper state, you the best option you have in this case is to save and quit. Even though that's not technically allowed, I think, for this particular category, just because it is causing some sort of, I guess, a behavior where I think it's like 17 minutes or something like that, where you basically just like infinite scrolling. And so for this particular tournament, if that happens to you, you are allowed to save and quit and start at Link's house, just because it's just such a terrible occurrence.
We don't want the run to end at 18 minutes.
Exactly.
It's just not fun for anybody involved. And you will lose time saving and quitting. It's not going to be something you're going to do on purpose. It's pretty much equivalent to a death. So have a little mercy on the runners. Mm-hmm. It's one of the only places where you can truly hardlock.
Yeah, so speaking of potentially nice RNG, though, so both runners ended up getting some pretty nice dead rocks, at least rescuing the old man. Fox unfortunately got a little bit of deterred, though, going up the mountain with the dead rock and a boulder, kind of giving Buane an extra, second, maybe? Half a second up the mountain into the portal. Although, otherwise, all things considered, extremely nice RNG, though, on Hera Overworld. Like, this place can be quite dangerous. You're more often than not going into Hera with, 2 to 3 hearts, maybe even some heart beasts with encouragement. We have a full 6 hearts going in. This is going to be very comfy.
Yeah, Fox actually gains a little time back on Deadrock RNG. Buane hits that Deadrock, reacts appropriately by starting to dash again a little lower, but, time loss is time loss, and you'll see a lot of these RNG fluctuations between them. Fox takes a hit on the way out of the Hera basement cage key.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of potential, this is one of the dangers, right? So, we're kind of moving in from Eastern Palace, where it had a bunch of Igors in the back, kind of doing 1 heart of damage. Pretty much everything here is going to do 1 heart of damage. Tile's going to do 1 heart. Moldorm's going to do 1 heart. Kazango's going to do 1 heart. The fire, that they breathe is going to do a heart. I mean, it's pretty dangerous here. So.
Oh, yeah. Fox goes for coffee break, which actually does save a little time.
Wait, is this rando?
This is, it's like all the benefits of rando, but much harder because you don't get to quick stop to bombs.
Oh yeah, that is very true. That is very true.
This is a three buttons at the same time trick. It's tough.
Oh no, Buane! Getting our first, I think, unintentional bonk into Hera basement. Also, torches. Don't let anybody tell you differently. All right, the hardest things about this game are lighting torches, picking up pots. All right, it is difficult. Arguably the most stationary things, the harder it is in order to kill them.
No comment about those torches. The last race I did, Fox was on commentary. And I'm so grateful he did not see how many tries it took me to light those torches. They are actually impossible to hit. Just mimics are impossible to dodge. There's nothing you can do. It's just all RNG. Alright, looks like, are we gonna get some potentially dual early bomb jumps here? PBJ.
Oh, so pretty. Oh, alright, so that is by far the fastest method in order to get to the Moon Pearl, which is our big chest. Looks super clean and super cool.
Yeah, but the cost of failure is you fall all the way to the bottom of the dungeon again, and use 30 seconds or more, so it's worse than a Moldorm fall, worse than a middle hole. It's terrible.
Yeah, but falling is surprisingly expensive in terms of time. You may not think it, but it is quite costly.
Ooh, speaking of falling.
Oh no,
yeah, Buane takes an unfortunate hit from Moldorm. Hopefully he doesn't die. I don't think he will. He can take 1 hit safely, but Moldorm is tough.
Yeah, no, so 2 hearts I think is probably the baseline for, most people feel quote unquote comfortable and going into Moldorm, just because, again, as you just said, right, everything does a heart of damage basically, and having an extra heart there is basically good enough buffer.
I think most runners at this level are comfortable in any situation where they're not in Oko. Oh my goodness! What are you doing?
Oh my god.
Okay, please, just.
Oh, alright,
Okay.
alright, so good thing Buane had 2 hearts. Holy, how he did not get knocked off, like, during the enraged phase earlier is, completely baffling. But, you know, thank you, Snake Heart.
That was an absolute miracle, and also a testament to, you know, when I was saying reacting to RNGs is what separates the runners of the skill. I mean, I think there were a lot of runners that would have fallen in that same situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, Buane, like, the fact that Buane even made it look like that close, and he was able to stay on the platform is quite skillful. Well, that was quite the hera. So we're on to basically now having all 3 pendants. We're gonna go finally get a offensive sword upgrade in, of course, the pedestal and Lost Woods. Fox is already a little bit ahead of Buane, of course, having basically a much safer, in this case, Moldorm fight.
But first, we have to go hunting.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So that's Fox was kind of. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Alright, looks like, oh, actually, okay, so Buane actually ended up killing this pickle here as well. Right, so, you actually didn't, so, right, in preparation for Palace of Darkness coming up here in the Dark World, we are going to need at least 110 rupees to get in. There are, of course, backup rupees in the back of Sahasrala's hut if you intend to have them, but, of course, why, you know, ask an old man for, you know, his life savings, where we literally know that money grows on trees, so we can basically just get them for free after 4 enemy kills.
Oh, so what you're saying is we're hunting and foraging.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. We're getting it from trees.
So yeah, the important thing about this hunting trip is you have to do 4 kills without getting hit since your last tree pull, and you will get red rupees if you do that. I believe this was discovered by, I want to say, ACMLM.
Oh, really?
I don't think it was really, this is a while ago. I don't think it was really known, like, how to manipulate this until it was figured out, and that's saves a few seconds in NMG, so.
Yeah, no, that's really good to know. Like, I actually did not know actually where all of these strats ended up coming from, so that is actually pretty good lore.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to make sure I'm giving the right person credit. I wasn't there. I was... Okay, so coming up on Castle Tower, this is the approach to our biggest RNG portion of the game, which means the type of RNG you can't control. So we've had a lot of RNG like Moldorms where you can dodge, you can weave, but this one is just will the boss attack in a way that you can damage it or not.
Yeah, and of course, in those of you who might be more frequently seeing, in this case, like the NMG races, right? Aga certainly can be the great equalizers in terms of, you know, one runner can have like 1 blue ball or maybe 2, and the other runner can have, let's say, 11. Not calling anybody out for having 11 blue balls because that's quite rough.
Yeah, it's rough. I think I saw that very same person though get 1 against his opponent having 8. So you know, karma is blind in this game.
Alright, so a couple of actually different rooms upcoming here. One of those things, speaking of not necessarily getting hurt in the overworld before getting those rupees, of course, we also have the requisite amount of money. We also see that Buane and Fox both kept their sword beams, being able to expertly beam, in this case, like the blue guards in order to get the Fleer's Key and then dash kill them. Basically preserves the price pack that we have, hoping in this case that we can save a fairy when we eventually go to, in this case, Turtle Rock, which of course where everything does, you know, 4 hearts of damage. Potentially we could, you know, have like a nice safety refill in terms of health. So far, actually, both really nice on both sides. Being able to actually haven't gotten hit yet, which is actually a very really difficult thing for to do. Especially in the dark maze. You know, those you do anything like you can just breathe incorrectly, and you know all of those blue bars will basically be alerted, and they'll just go after you, and you just literally just get hit every single time. But Buane and Fox knows how to handle this.
Yeah, and Fox had a really nice the 2 red guards here. Both of them getting the same RNG. Or maybe they're manipulating them in ways I don't know, but that looked really similar. Alright, yeah, this is another little technical thing is Fox canceling his dash before climbing the stairs. You get a little bit of slowdown there if you are dashing up the stairs. And here we approach the Aghanim fight. Aghanim will cast several magic attacks. The first one will always be a reflectable orange ball. You need to get 6 of those to kill him. 6 or 5. Hell, I think it's 6.
We're just basically gonna just keep going, and then once Agnes starts spinning. In this
I don't
case,
count orange balls. I count blue balls. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So as you mentioned earlier, Fox is going to be the first one at least going into lead with Aghanim. All right. So the first one is a guaranteed energy ball. All right. 2nd through 4. Next 3 shots are going to be 50-50 between energy balls and blue balls. Fox is having a tremendous start. Let us not jinx anything as Buane starts off his fight. Holy cow. Is this the run? Alright, I think that's the first blue ball for Buane. Was that 0? I think that's 0 for Fox. That is amazing.
Fox is on pace.
Yeah. And Buane, I think, it's already incurred 2. So this is gonna, I think, just further on extend Fox's potential lead here in Dark Worlds.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't go past 2 because every 3rd blue ball incurs an extra orange ball. Or an extra lightning cycle.
Lightning cycle, right? Yeah, which is 6 seconds?
Which is also an extra orange ball, because you always get a guaranteed one.
That's true.
The mercy ball.
Malmo, should we stop looking at Buane's side?
I heard.
That was at least 4. It might have been 5. I don't know. But this is a lot of blue balls.
Yeah. I'm kind of... Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to watch, but it wasn't, an obscene amount. It was a lot, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially compared to, like, a 0 blue ball, it certainly can seem like a lot.
Yeah, you don't like to see a race come down to luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's okay, so I think you mentioned there's Fox is going into Dark World on pace, so maybe there might be a little bit of on pace nerves, especially in the middle of a race. You always want to try to get 0 blue balls when you're trying to go for PB runs. Buane, he is no stranger to this situation. It is just time for him to get comfy and claw his way back some time in the Dark World. This is where, of course, the runs are made basically in the Dark Worlds.
Yeah,
Light World doesn't matter.
So Fox had a pretty nice Kiki dash there. You want to get Kiki to catch up to you before you actually activate the door, because Kiki will move towards you at running speed until you've activated the door, and then he will take his sweet time walking there because he knows he's got a captive audience.
That's right. So you've already had to pay him so much money.
Fox uses his menu buffer there. I think a lot of runners will do that to maximize that Kiki dash.
Yeah, and when you miss it, especially, Kiki moves so slowly. I mean, he doesn't move any slower than normal, but it just feels so much slower because you're literally just, sitting there watching. It's just like an auto-scroller, right? You just can't literally make it faster.
Oh,
so you really want to try to avoid that.
I would say it's an eternity. I actually don't really know what it's like to watch Kiki open the door of Pod because I just skip that whole part entirely. But
yeah, I was gonna say so this is Kiki dash, right, versus Kiki skip, which is a glitch, which is a major glitch.
That's a glitch we'll see in the No Logic tournament. Yeah, there's also Kiki Yeet. There's a lot of great Kiki tricks out there.
This monkey is famous, man.
Oh yeah, it's got 3 glitches named after him. I have 0, so I mean Kiki has
all right, so we'll try working a Malmo something in here.
It's okay. I got to name the newest glitch in the game called Blockbuster. So okay.
Oh, nice.
You won't be seeing it in NMG, I promise.
All right, No Logic League starting out in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, No Logic tournament. It's beginning of August. Fox will be in it. Maybe we can tempt Buane into it too. And I don't know if he actually plays No Logic. Anyway, we're doing a video game. Fox is going to probably the most showy glitch of NMG.
Certainly one of the most well-known. I mean, this one, the bomb jump seemed to be certainly very popular. Hammer jump, in this case, very cleanly done, actually.
That was really nice. No wasted menus.
Yeah, no, I mean, 0 extra buffers. In this case, you always have those menus, quote-unquote, free menus in order to try and position yourself, in order to switch over. But, yeah, it was really fast hammer jump. Of course, Ice Palace bomb jump is going to come up when we eventually get to Ice Palace.
Yeah, Hammer Yump saves enough time that you can menu buffer about 30 times before losing. Ice Palace Bomb Jump is like actually required practically. If you don't do it, the dungeon takes so long to do it that nobody who doesn't run glitchless dungeon order actually knows how to do it.
I think it's like the intended way is something like 3 loops around or something like that. Yeah, and of course Ice Palace Bomb Jump basically lets you just do the dungeon like the first time through, so yes, quite a bit of time save. And right, I guess maybe to give you some context, right, you mentioned like 30-some times buffering. Right, I think one extra menu is or something around a second, so yeah, it just kind of gets to show you like how many times you can just basically set up your hammer up and still make it worth it.
Buane just had the most harrowing hammer yump. I mean, he got a sword buffer.
He's just gaming.
He got a sword buffer at the very last minute while the bomb was going off, and like you don't know if he's going to make it until he makes it, and he did. Being that confident with your sword buffers is right. Yeah. Oh, and that quick hop too always looks.
Yeah, no, that's actually really that's difficult to do.
There's a few of those in the game. There's like one in Mire too, and they're just so cursed. Like actually getting there with the quick hop and not just grabbing the ledge is so hard that most people are going to lose time attempting it.
Mm-hmm.
Fox has a nice turtle room. He doesn't get any of the downward ones that slow you down. All right, does Fox go for the hammer? No, he doesn't. There's a key dash you can do in this room. Fox doesn't actually land on the key dash pixel. I don't think he goes for it anyway, but I love that key dash.
Key dash, I think, is actually kind of difficult in this case because again, you have maybe stop in the right time.
Yeah, it's really just about like you stop and you read it very quickly. And there's 2 different key dashes you can get there. One of them, I use a queue of the lamp cone. And one of them where the lamp cone is bisecting some solid black line. It's really hard to tell if it's actually bisecting it or if it's just on the edge. But there's another one that's a little easier to catch. I recommend actually looking into these if you are trying to shave frames off because they're not that hard to learn. And when you have them, they're so satisfying to get. Buane also doesn't land on it. So even if he is one who goes for it, he doesn't get it, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think in this case, we did see Fox do this a little bit earlier. Both Buane and Fox are setting up spin speed in order to offset the hammer's hitbox. So in this case, we can, in fact, basically have a little bit nicer and be able to use type of sword damage. Yeah, for Helmasaur, really nice, safe, and consistent.
Yeah, there is a little RNG factor to this. If Helmasaur goes to the bottom of the screen while you're doing the hammers, you can save a little time on recoil. And if Helmasaur gives you fireballs, if you are really good at the game, you can avoid losing time, but it's hard to avoid losing time and being safe at the same time.
Yeah, and right, that's also another one of the reasons why people end up picking up Sankar is specifically for that fight. Is Helmasaur does 2 hearts of damage, and speaking of 2 hearts of damage, so do Ropas.
Yeah, was that a lottery or did something go wrong there? I think that was a lottery.
Yeah, that's
just
really
unlucky.
Like it, I think. Mm-hmm.
These Ropas are one of the most lottery-ish. I don't know how you say it. But there's a few Ropa lotteries in this game. That is one of them. There's also one on the way to Ice Palace that you can avoid with a slightly safer strat that loses 40 frames.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, you probably don't get too unlucky, but it when it does happen, you are kind of already going down as in terms of health deficit. So this particular split, and where we're going into next Thieves Town, isn't like the most dangerous position. But of course, in this case, 2 hearts of damage on only like 8 or 9 hearts is not exactly too much room for buffer.
That's a nice talk. So the Fox going through the sequence to get the flute. The flute is required for the game. This is the fastest time to get it. And you want to get it as early as possible because after Skull Woods, we will be fluting to every dungeon.
Yeah, right. And in this case, right, just like anything else, you actually definitely want extra mobility because we definitely have a lot faster overworld movements. And, just as part of this category, we are not allowed to save and quit whatsoever. So any type of, in this case, shortcuts we could take to the overworld for locations, that's certainly going to be to our benefit. Talking about spin speed, this is probably one of the other requisite screens we actually need spin speed for. You see that Fox did get it first try, but how fast in that case the red card can catch up to you is quite speedy. And right, if you've ever gotten like basically when you miss a spin speed, trying to basically dash your way through that screen at any point, you're just gonna get destroyed by that guy.
Yeah, you also have to spin speed through it in a particular way to bait him, to get the right movement pattern from him and not get grazed by him in the way past. But yeah, Thieves Town is one of the most overworld heavy segments in the game. They are almost done with the overworld section, and they can go into the dungeon. The dungeon is full of a lot of enemies that have RNG patterns that you have to react to. It's one of those, kind of like Hera, where you just have to be really good at dodging and reading RNGs.
Yeah, we are also going to come up with to a particular hallway. I guess maybe trying to get to the upper levels of Thieves Town. That part you're going to have to, hope in this case a little bit of luck is on your side. No matter how good you are, even if you get on the right pixel in order to dash up, you're going to have to hope in this case the enemies cooperate a little bit with you as well.
Yeah, there's two enemies. Right. There's two enemies in the hallway that can block you. The first one you can see and you can read it quickly. And if you don't get the right RNG, you can do a sideways dash and do a 2-dash strategy, which is a little slower. But the second one is when you have to react to quickly. You can get the correct pixel and dash up and get blocked by the second one and have to react quickly. And then on top of that, there's like a fire snake that can move randomly. There's an anti-fairy, and anti-fairies are impossible. They also, quote, move randomly, but really they don't.
There's also, that screen is also known for a little bit, for causing some extra lag as well. So certainly not necessarily even like the easiest to react to, just because when everything is slowed down a bit.
Yeah, lag is hard. Like I find like even some of the boss fights, especially Helmasaur, lag is one of the hardest things to react to because they're used to things taking a certain amount of time.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Alright, Buane though, a little bit delayed getting into Thieves Town as well, but hopefully in this case, like he does have in this case have 2 more hearts because he didn't end up getting lottoed on the overworld, so he's got a little bit of buffer in terms of health.
So Fox got the bad RNG, but he got the nice clean double dash, which is the best you can hope for in that situation. It looked like the second enemy was also going to give him a bad pattern, even if he got the first one, but I'm a little less good at reading that one. Oh, there's a little lag management on the screen Buane is on. That fire snake is on screen. You have to dash differently to reduce lag to get him off screen faster.
Yeah, somehow, like, this particular dungeon just seems to be known for, at least, like, the lag in this case, like, just seems to kind of stand out more. I don't know if it's just, like, observational bias or something like that, but it always does seem like lag can really kind of hurt in this case.
This dungeon is really laggy. You see it a lot in, like, Enemizer. Oh, here it is. So Buane actually adjusted his pixel, which is hard to do, because normally you dash on grid and you'll land, you're likely to land on the pixel if you dash on grid and time it correctly, but, getting back on grid from being off grid is pretty hard. But he gets the second enemy blocking his way, and he reads it correctly, but once you have stopped there, it's hard to get a clean dash up again because the other enemies start to get in your way.
Has a really nice weaving through the crickets, by the way, on Buane's side. I didn't know how he didn't get hit, but hey, Buane was able to read those crickets pretty well.
Yeah, Buane got the RNG where you can just place the bomb right away without doing any slashes. If that top cricket goes left, you have a free reign to just place your bomb. If a top cricket does anything else, you have to slash up if you want to do an early bomb. But it looks like Fox is not deterred by his lack of hearts. I know some people don't even like having beams for blind, because blind is a scripted fight, and beams make it feel like it's going to go off script. I don't know. I don't know if it's psychological or real, but it feels like beams sometimes just mess you up in that fight.
Yeah, right. I think it can potentially either mess up your timing, or like you think it'll hit, but it actually doesn't, right? And then I think that's when can throw people off. But yeah, without beams though, everything is pretty static. It can make your fight faster, but I think it also potentially can make it slower on the very last phase. I guess we'll have to maybe double check with that.
Oh, apparently they make it faster. Wow. Okay, I guess they get the hit in faster. Make blind die slightly earlier. It's really interesting that one of the most RNG heavy dungeons has the least RNG boss. I mean, it's very RNG when it goes off script, but most runners will not run into that problem. And if they do, it'll be in the late phase where it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, and right. The most important part about this particular fight, and I mean, this is probably actually true for most dungeons, but if you die to blind, the refight is significantly harder. Like, because in this case, blind starts up top, and you don't. So you don't really get a scripted version in that case. So then it is going to be very important for you basically to react, starting for all the fireballs.
Yeah, but I'm very glad we don't have to see a
yes, exactly.
blind refight today. Because that is tough. You actually do want beams for that, because hitting blind from below with a gun is a lot harder than hitting him with a sword from above. Or it's a lot easier. So this section, there is a certain frog we will be picking up. And this frog will upgrade our sword. The tempered sword is the thing that gives us access to most of the boss quick kills. If you don't have the sword, the bosses are all really, really slow to fight. Some of them don't even take damage from the slash. Or if they do, it's very little.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, as with, most sword upgrades, basically you get double damage, right? Fighter sword to master sword to tempered sword. So, for example, upcoming fight for Mothula takes 8 master sword slashes, or in this case, only 4 tempered sword slashes. So, and, Moth, among other bosses, you do want to kill quickly. The longer you stay in that arena, the more dangerous it's going to be for you. So, tempered sword certainly is going to be quite helpful in terms of speed. Also, tempered sword, of course, is actually a really nice offensive item to make the run much more consistent. Technically, I think if you don't pick up tempered sword and do things, optimally, you can save time. You can actually get to Ganon before with only master sword, but again, this is also RTA, so anything, of course, that can keep our runners alive and a consistent run after run is really going to be something quite helpful.
Yeah, it's really hard to speed up the Ganon fight without using like randomizer strats where you have access to quick swap when you have the master sword, or you have access to items like the cape. There is a category that gets master sword. It's called low % legacy, and it's a pretty good exercise in your master sword combat. Yeah, so this Smith sequence is kind of, I don't know, I find it hard to remember what part of the sequence you're on. You visit their house 3 times, and you have to go through a screen transition, and then you have to go through a screen transition with a portal. But these runners manage it quite nicely. They remember what to do. I think they've played this game before.
Yeah, well, maybe just once or twice. The most important part, of course, is that we definitely need that sword. Once we have it now, so we're definitely good to go. Nice Dark World fence dash there on Buane's side. Not having to incur any extra bombs. All right, this is done.
What happened there? I'm not sure what happened there. It looked like Fox had a clean statue push, and the Gibdo leaving him alone. But he seemed to read something, reading the Gibdo's of threat, and took a slash at him. But it didn't deter him too much.
And then they just left him alone, just basically to move the statue, at his own leisure.
I think Fox is asserting his dominance for future runs.
Yeah. Alright, alright, just a traditional bomb jump over to the big chest in order to get our fire rod. I guess I'm curious to see if Buane decides to do the early bomb jump here as well. Similar to kind of what we saw a version done in Hera. This bomb jump, or the early bomb jump, is significantly harder just because you don't necessarily have maybe even a visual cue, but also you don't really have a pause buffer. But I have seen Buane go for this on a regular basis. So let's see in this case if he can also execute this one here.
Yeah, Buane's mummy room is a little bit smoother. He doesn't hesitate and isn't forced to. Sometimes the Gibdos will just charge you and you have to deal with them or dodge them.
Alright, really nicely done on Buane's side. It's like riding a bike, basically.
Not only that, but he dispatches the Moldorm on the way up, so he doesn't have to deal with it on the way back down. The Moldorms, when you're doing the bomb jump, like the slower way, they seem to time so that they always charge you while you're going towards the big chest, making it quite hard.
Yeah, and speaking of like using a bomb jump to get over there, and while it wasn't necessary in this particular case, but we of course actually do want to get rid of our sword beams before we enter Moth. As mentioned before, right, Master Sword does 8 slashes in order to kill Mothula. Sword beams do count for Fighter Sword, which does damage Mothula. Holy cow, Fox! Nice fight! Yeah, this is why we want Temper Sword.
Yeah, so Fox actually did get like 4 hits in really quickly, but Moth does negate damage when it gets hit by spikes. So Fox got a hit stolen from him. And getting a sense for when that's happening is another one of those things you just get with experience. Because it's easy to think you're about to kill Moth and go for your last hit that ends up just killing you because you expect Moth to die.
Right.
But at 7 hearts, I don't expect either of these runners to die to Moth.
Yeah, it looks like Buane
oh my god, what is this RNG?
Yeah, Moth is like basically not leaving the top, man. Yeah, Buane actually got a nice dash a poke in the very beginning, and then he even uses pause buffer like bow in order to try and like read the RNG and trying to get Moth down, and like no.
Why is he going to bow? I think he meant to go to mirror.
I think he probably. It's actually a good point.
You can't shoot Moth with the bow as much as you want to. It would be nice.
You should try with silver arrows next time. See if we can convince them to get silver arrows before Mothula.
Bad news for you about silver arrows and Mothula.
Alright, just in time actually in this case, we ended up switching over to Fox. We are going to get our next piece of progression, which is in this case we're going to go visit Catfish to go get our quick medallion.
Yeah, this is another dash-heavy overworld segment where the dashes you do matter a lot. In here, it's about avoiding getting hit by these Ropas. Fox goes for what we call the Louis dash, which loses a little bit of time, but prevents you from getting the lottery. You don't want to lose beams before Ice Palace.
Yeah, it seems to be a general case where you don't really want to lose health or beams, like for the most part, especially going into. But yes, as like in this particular case, like having beams into Ice Palace is actually quite useful. Fox, getting the quick fish.
Nice.
Contrary to popular belief, it is not a hit circle; it is a hit box. There are a couple of pixels in that corner that you saw Fox basically throw the rock in, which actually does count in this case of the game in order to trigger Catfish. Saves I think 20 frames, something like that.
Fox is still on pace, by the way. I'd like to point out. No, he's having a really nice run right now. So this Zora screen, the water here is very deceptive, and you really want to maximize the time you spend dashing on shallow water because walking is so slow. But if you go too far in any direction, it's really easy to splash into the water. The water doesn't really behave. Normally, it's like kind of got a weird directional detection rather than being tiles of water, if that makes sense. So like you can hit the same pixel from 2 different directions and one of them will splash and one of them won't. You'll see Fox going for this dash. Well, it looks like he's dashing on deep water, but actually the detection is so shoddy that it doesn't splash him. So he's able to maximize that dash distance.
Alright, he also gets some pretty nice RNG as well, just be able to, swim directly into the portal, and all things look good for Fox to be able to keep his sword beams.
Yeah, you saw him switch to Fire Rod there. Yeah, switch to Fire Rod there in case that one of the Zoras gives him an RNG where he spawns right in front of the portal. You can Fire Rod that Zora, but one of the benefits to having beams here is to save a Fire Rod shot and not lose magic. So you don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, we're also going to see, hopefully in this case, Fox will also have full health going into an upcoming conveyor belt room. There's actually a really nice strat for basically you to use your beams in order to kill the Bari key, which has the key, and then you can basically damage boost yourself off of the spikes and make a really nice long clean dash to the left. Hopefully Fox is going to be able to do that. Looks like Buane is oh no, man! What on earth happened, Buane?
You got the RNG with the Zora spawns right in front of. We were just talking about this RNG.
Oh,
I swear he's getting some of the worst luck.
But Buane, for the most part, in this case, is, you know, like he's also had like a pretty decent run, probably outside of like the Fall to Hero. I mean, oh my gosh, no, just the heart did not drop fast enough. So looks like Buane, unless he gets another heart drop somewhere else, he's not gonna be able to have beans for this.
Yeah. Fox doesn't quite get the conveyor belt strat, but he does make it through, and now he goes to the next kind of technical bomb jump of the game, which is the Ice Palace bomb jump. Very quickly done.
Yeah, really nicely done. Apparently, much easier setup with boots than without. For those of you who may not necessarily have always come here with boots in not the vanilla game, of course.
Yeah, without boots, you usually go in with some kind of like sword spin strat, which is not hard, but it's slower.
Alright, Buane doesn't even care, I think, about this point of damage. We're not going to get a second heart. It does take a little bit of extra damage, though.
And Fox gets the spin clip into the staircase correctly, does not take the extra spike damage or get slowed down by it, so he saves time in that room. Buane has to hit the switch here, so he takes an extra hit from a spike on the way down. Oh no! Okay, well at least he didn't use up one of his bombs. Oh, he's
yeah, I was actually wondering if he was going to try and hover this. Like, that's what it kind of looked like at the very beginning. Oh my gosh, though. Just like with the timing, though, with the Fire Snake, it's... At least Buane made it through. That was kind of... He didn't have to necessarily wait for that second cycle.
That was another one of those clutch last-minute buffers, though. I mean, he was just going up and down until he saw it, and... very last... I think... I don't know how any human could detect that they were on it. I don't know if he did or not, but he was on it, and that's what counted. Meanwhile, Fox gets a very nice poke dash cold stare. Very, very nicely done.
Yeah, and basically even using like this a menu buffer to mirror at the very end to kind of also give himself a little bit of breathing room in order to get that last slash in. So really nicely done on Fox's side.
All right, here comes FoxLisk's file name, Long Swamp. It's called Long Swamp because Fox moved his shopping to match Buane's. He will be picking up.
Aw, that's such sportsmanship. Also very convenient for our restream because then we don't have to necessarily say like, oh, we don't know who's necessarily ahead. We'll have a direct comparison.
Yeah, you have to do split math, and I don't want to do split math. Please don't make me do split math. I can barely read them. All right, very wow. So
Buane. Oh, wow.
Okay. So I was on the edge of my seat there. Buane is on 4 hearts, and Cold Stare happens to do 4 hearts of damage. We are at that inflation endgame where money doesn't matter anymore, and hearts don't matter because everything does 4 hearts. But
yeah,
Buane gets it.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we would have enough. We would have that if we had a 5th heart, right? The fight is actually significantly just like less risky because again, right? Cold Stare does 4 hearts damage on green mail, and if we just had that extra 5th heart, we could actually be able to tank a potential Cold Stare, poke, if all things kind of like went wrong. And of course, right, as you mentioned, suddenly, the game tends to spike in difficulty at times, right? So, Light World coming into Dark World, game spikes in difficulty. After Ice Palace, Crystal number 5, into Mire and Turtle Rock. Game also spikes a bit in difficulty, just because we can get the blue mail, and then all the enemies hit a bit harder.
Yeah, but we are going to take, I would like to call it a breather. Swamp is supposed to be the second dungeon in the Dark World.
Supposed to.
For a casual player, it's a lot easier to not die in Swamp. But for a speedrunner, it's a lot harder to not lose time in Swamp because there are so many enemies that can just get in your way and slow you down, nickel and dime you. And these are real nickels and dimes. These are not pennies and nickels.
Yeah, made with real metal, real actual nickel.
And then coming up on the boss fight that has what people will call the hardest 6 seconds to save in the run, which is the 0 cycle Argus, requiring a whole bunch of item dashes in rhythmic succession and cooperation from the boss to skip the first spin cycle of Argus.
Yeah, also does require a little bit of luck and RNG so that, if Argus, I think, rushes you too quickly, you may not actually even have enough time to pull off all of the puffs. But for the most part, it's certainly something that you want to try and get. Alright, so it looks like, though, all things considered, Buane also was kind of at a 4 blue ball deficit going into Dark World, so part of also another reason why he is behind this is also, I would consider, one of the more anxiety-inducing, oh my gosh, screens. just
So the good thing about this, and we're going into swamp. You don't need beams for swamp.
That
can
is
be
true.
nice
We're not going
for
to
the
fire.
first
That's
room.
true.
They can be nice
That
to
is
get
right.
that RNG in the first room, but it's not as essential. A nice anti-fairy skip from Fox, requiring very good movement in that room to skip the anti-fairy.
Yeah, and of course, this is one of the reasons why people like to do, you know, going up to the ether, going up to get ether before Swamp Palace versus Mire, because we technically don't need it in Swamp. But you know, as we kind of saw on Buane's side, getting hit and losing your sword beams is not going to be the end of the world in Swamp Palace. We would really, again, like to keep our beams from Mire, which is probably going to be more important.
Yeah, one thing you do sacrifice by doing your shopping here is you don't have the hook shot for the mountain climb.
Right.
Getting a hook dash can be easier and a little faster than getting the spin dash, giving you a little less time to get hit by boulders on the way up. And I think it has a little bit of a menu optimization as well.
There are differences. I'm trying to actually think. Yeah, and I think right, but I think like for the most part, like that's kind of like the divider, I guess, for people is whether or not they think that the hook speed is probably more worth it, you know, versus in this case, you know, trying to basically not get hit and keeping your beams.
Yeah, it's so minuscule that it almost always comes down to runner for preference. Some people will actually find the spin dash easier than the hook dash. Some runners will just do what they learned. Some people just don't like to see like a really long thief sound split, even though it doesn't really matter as much.
Okay, so next file name is gonna be long thief, right?
Long thief. It's
Long
like some
thief.
kind of cryptid. I don't know. It's Slender Man, but he steals things. Alright, Swamp Palace, both of them on half a heart. Fox working on his big key hunt. You gotta go through his whole rigmarole of hitting a switch, doing some water flooding, and, you know, if you did that flooding right, you are on top of the switch, ready to react to that Bari that gets in your way. And, wow, nice. So you get the iframes. You can see iframes off of the face. I saw Aerie do it on pace, and I'm assuming if Aerie's doing it, it's like something you're supposed to do.
That's actually really cool and like really, you know, like good. I mean, it works out so well, right? You need to hit the switch, and then if you get the I-beams, like, yeah, you basically just move the Bari away for free.
The cool thing is like you have the entire animation of the water to calculate what you're going to do when that Bari
That's awesome.
goes. So you can do it that way if the Bari you expect is going to be in your way, and if it's not, you can do something else. I'm not sure, but I think it probably requires good movement to even have the option to do that.
Yeah, you definitely have to get pretty far, right? Like, sometimes you can get, like, a stuck switch or something like that, and then you don't basically get that option. Unless you know, in this case, want to, you know, maybe spend a little bit of extra time. Looks like the Buane also very similar, being able to slash and get his iframes and move right through the bar. That is just so cool.
He got his beams back. When did that happen?
He must have got a drop. He must have got a heart drop somewhere earlier.
Oh, see, if he had beams there, if Fox had beams there, he would have been able to slash the Bari. That room is so unfair.
I thought every room was so unfair. Like, every room has a fire snake or a Bari or a skeleton that's just like, it's just ready to pounce on you, basically, to like nick you again.
So the movement to hookshot here is very scripted to get this line up so you can hook dash or hook shot. There's a lot of hook things. Hook dashing, hook shotting. We will not be hook pushing, but there's, you know, more to see here. There's actually a hook dash in this room that lets you pick up this pot instantaneously. It's one of those things that if you don't know what to look for, you won't necessarily know the runners are doing it.
That is 100% true, right? It's actually, you actually just watch, you know, people do the speedrun, you're like, oh yeah, okay, you just kind of push the statue up, and then you can just basically push the, you know, pick up the pot. You actually might be convinced that picking up that pot is like the hardest thing in the game because it does not work unless you actually item dash.
Yeah, one time I saw somebody call that a hook push because you're hook dashing and then pushing, and I thought that was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
They had no idea.
Lots of different technical. Alright, looks like actually Fox is also skipping the refill room. Not interested in basically stocking up on another bomb or arrows for that matter. So, easiest way for us to save time is to not get anything.
I don't really know what the route is at this part of the run for bombs and arrows. You need a certain number for Vitreous, and you need a bomb to do... You want a bomb going into Ganon's Tower. There's a bomb you can get in Turtle Rock if you really need it. But otherwise, any bombs you have are safety for spooky action if you miss it. in Mire. And oh no! So did Fox get the 0 cycle?
He did get the 0 cycle, which was actually very impressive. It was a very clean movement. Looks like though he didn't quite get the second fire rod shot in, so unfortunately had to kind of resort to switch to spins at the end. Somehow, Buane is already on his Argus fight. I felt like the gap was bigger than this, but I mean, Buane's been playing well.
Yeah, and also like this cutscene takes forever.
Yeah, but oh man, really nice 0 cycle there on Buane's side as well. Buane, of course, is not a fire rod user. He is always a 2-spin guy, as evidence that basically I'm not switched over to fire rod at all.
I can tell you this, that Buane saved time doing that over Fox missing it. So if it doesn't save that much time, if you're in a race and you're behind, and you are trying to save time and you know your opponent might have missed the strat, you can gain time by not doing the strat.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, right, so technically if you can fire rod and then only do 1 spin, right, it actually does save time, but if you miss, right, then you are going to lose time over the 2 spins. And I think Buane kind of decided, at least for him, right, that he's just going to just go with 2 spins for the foreseeable future.
Now, for all I know, that's just what he does. It's possible that he just mains 2 spins. It's totally valid to main 2 spins.
That is definitely what he does.
It's an entire extra menu there and back, and like if you are it's so minuscule that if you are supposed to stay on hookshot in the next split, it actually doesn't save time. Apparently he got a gold in that swamp, so that's good to see. That's probably where you're seeing that time save, where he's catching up to Fox a little bit.
Wow, that's actually very impressive. I mean, these are actually real splits. On Buane's side, they're not, like 20-22 splits or whatever. So that's actually pretty impressive.
That's a fat gold, 2.1 seconds. A round 23 runner getting any gold is a special occasion, let alone a 2-second gold.
Yeah, I mean, right, normally it's like you see like the goals being like, donuts, right? Like 0.0 type of, splits, but yeah, like this is quite good for Buane.
I've never heard anyone call them donuts before. I love that.
Alright, so looks like we're on to Mire. And again, both Fox and Buane, keeping him sword beams is kind of the Mire 2 is probably one of the biggest reasons why you want to be able to have sword beams, just because they are so useful in order to basically make a very fast kill out of this room.
Yeah, it is technically possible to get like the Mire 2 with sword beams. If you're going for the fast Mire 2, you will want sword beams to kill the bottom Popo, but if you're going for the normal Mire 2 single cycle, you can get it with just fire rod.
Yeah, and while that,
you can run into magic problems if you do that.
Right. Well, right. And while magic isn't like too important, I mean, you do have to be a bit more, bit conscious of it, just because we are lighting torches with the fire rod. If you use part of also like using the fire rod to try and kill enemies in Mire 2 is that the burning animation takes quite a bit of time. I mean, it's not like super long, but it is, something that you don't want to be waiting for. So maybe another good reason to have beams versus burning things.
The fire rod takes a surprisingly long time to kill things. Fire rod on that Bari is really good though, because you are going to get a full magic refill right away, and if it's in your way, the fire rod shot is free. You don't have to wait for it to die, you just have to get out of your way.
Yeah, and especially if you've ever tried to slash a Bari, it knows, by the way, when you try and slash it, like the moment you pull out your sword, it's just going to start shocking you. So Fire Rod mitigates all of that because it just burns.
I just had a heart attack looking at Fox's splits because I see he's suddenly 40 seconds behind. I forgot he moved his shopping here. So we'll find out after Turtle Rock when he starts entering. Because I want to say he normally gets Turtle Rock Ice Rod, but I've been wrong before. I've literally been wrong today, so...
I didn't Fox say that he switches things up depending on what happens? I guess I don't know how you do that with splits, but...
So before this started, I asked Fox, is he going to do, what kind of shopping he's going to do? And then I asked him, are you going to do Mire or Mire Swamp? Because I have seen him just forget which split he's on and go to the wrong dungeon before. Thankfully, between Mire and Swamp, they're pretty interchangeable. You don't get to have the hook shot in this room that Buane's coming up on, which saves a little bit of time, but other than that, it's mostly just having an extra heart for safety.
Yeah, and health coming up, at least we would like 7 hearts to be comfortable going to Vitreous, by the way. But of course, earlier having extra health, in this case, allows them to actually, buffer some of the do some damage boosts along the dungeon. We actually both see that, to see Fox and Buane both do Spark Gamble, which, of course, if you can afford yourself the health, you can basically damage boost through the Spark in order to get, to the right side a little bit faster. Going to Vitreous, though, looks like both of them are quite healthy.
Yeah, and also there's a glitch that I just saw Fox do that Buane will be doing as well. It's called Spooky Action at a Distance. It's some very important, very complicated quantum mechanics going on here. Einstein wrote a whole paper on it, but basically you enter the portal in a certain way that makes sure that the flute bird is on screen in the right position to set a variable for altitude, that the fire rod also reads to deal splash damage. And if you can get that fire rod to deal splash damage in this kind of broken way, you can hit a switch that is off screen. Both runners will be doing it 3 times. Buane will be doing it on the torch for his last one, and there we go. Saves a ton of time, like 10 seconds at least.
Yeah, of course. Like the developer intended way, of course, that there is like a cracked wall at the very top of that screen, so you can go and like bomb it open, and then you can hit the switch, and then you come back. I mean, but that's like a lot. That's a lot of time, right? You got a screen transition, hit the switch, come back. I mean, it is quite a number of seconds. That was a really nice cleanup on Buane's side, being able to kind of snipe the eyeball from the right side.
Vitreous is a pretty terrifying fight, but actually the way to make it safe is to take damage on the goo. And if you do it right and you're only taking damage on the goo and you follow sort of a script, you can make it safe. The script can be, there are certain RNGs where if you're a little too tight on certain movements, you can get bopped. But otherwise, most runners are able to get a 0 cycle at this level. So we see both of them clean up nicely.
Yeah, they're definitely really, playing well, basically, for the end game.
Fox saved a little time on Meyer.
Yeah, alright. Not quite exactly you know what? Fox got through that screen, I would say, relatively unscathed. No damage taken. Nothing really too much in his way. Deadbox, I think, did prevent a little bit of speed boost over there, but otherwise, we're gonna go to Turtle Rock now.
Now, the runners set up something earlier in Aga Tower to ensure that they get a fairy in this dungeon. The fairy comes into play in a couple rooms that have this enemy called a Pokey in it. You kill the Pokey and it can drop a fairy, giving you sword beams and replenishing some of the hearts you take in an intentional damage boost. You really want to enter with as much health as you can because everything does a lot of damage here, and you don't want to take so much damage that the fairy doesn't heal you all the way to full health. And you also don't want to die because it's really easy to die in this dungeon.
Yeah, right. So remember when we did Ice Palace and we totally completely skipped out on the big key and the big chest? So that had Blue Mail, right? So the game kind of assumes that after Blue Mail, which basically halves all of the damage that enemies do to you, it's like, oh yeah, you must have Blue Mail here. So we can't make the game too easy because it's the end of the game. So let's just up the damage output for all the enemies. So yeah, everything basically just does 4 hearts of damage, pokies, chomps. Spikes do, and the rollers do 3 hearts of damage, which is certainly still not, not light fare. But yeah, so the whole having 13 hearts or 12 hearts in this case for Fox certainly can seem like a false sense of security because you think you have a lot of health, but it's probably only can afford you 2 or 3 hits before you really start to worry.
The cost of living is so high in Hyrule right now.
Exactly. Yeah. We've moved from the heartland of America to one of the bigger cities like New York or something.
Oh no. I live in San Francisco. It's so hard.
Oh, no. That's even worse.
I live in Turtle Rock. And I didn't get my fairy drop this year.
Oh no.
No, I'm alright. It's like I just have to live with 4 strangers. And just like these 2 strangers were approaching on Fox's side. There's a room with the Pokey, and that's one of the places where you can get your fairy drop. But you don't always get your fairy drop. It is 50-50 for each segment of the Pokey that dies. Looks like Fox was actually on his heart drop. I happen to know that Buane is on his fairy drop right now. He got a heart in the mini Helma and Pod. So when he gets a drop, it will be a fairy.
Yeah, and right, so talking about using the being able to have the damage boost, right? We're going to basically damage boost straight through those rolls in order to save us a little bit of extra time. But Fox, unfortunately, did not get good chomp RNG. most of his some Mario block shots were actually blocked by the chomps, and yes, like unfortunately they don't do any damage. So might be. I mean, assuming he does get the fairy, there hopefully should be like a big magic drop as well. So at least that would maybe mitigate a bit of his like magic pressure. But hopefully, but otherwise we might have to be a little bit more conscious of how we use our magic for the future. Fox,
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Okay.
We love Turtle Rock. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Turtle Rock.
We have.
It's so good. We get the key. Can you get us fairy? I think you can.
Oh. Okay. All right. Okay. Everything's fine. Fox has recovered his health. We're still a little bit worried about the magic. He still might be able to get it. After pokies. I don't know if it's worth his time to go pick it up if it's not on his way.
Now this is coming to be a bit of a tighter race. Buane actually had a really good chain chomps. When he got his fairy drop in the previous room, he was able to use the beams and the favorable RNG from the chain chomps to get a very quick time in that room. Now this is also an RNG room that Fox is coming up on. He gets I think that's the worst RNG when they both go down.
Yeah, that is
pretty bad.
Yep.
Oh no.
And he's not gonna get drops either. Oh my gosh, did either of them no drops?
No. The good news is,
what kind of pokies are these?
This makes the race a little closer, making it a little more exciting. I hate to see it happening to someone who's on pace, though.
Oh my gosh, dude, how did we not get anything from pokies? Like, Buane is just getting, like, everything, right? He's got, and even, actually, luckier for him, both the 8-pack for bombs also drop very far away from him.
Yeah, you don't
so
want
he doesn't
those.
have to even worry about that, exactly. But yeah, Buane was even able to get the full magic earlier, too, so quite a bit of resource difference.
Fox did a strat that I've never seen before, that I'm assuming is due to his lack of resources.
Yeah,
he actually walked up, hit the boomerang, got iframes on the pigs. He wanted to make sure he had enough Samaria magic to go through this room, because if he didn't, he has to backtrack back to the pokey and kill the pokey and get the drop from it, which would be very, very slow.
Yeah. Oh, right. And that's actually, and thank you for boomerang, by the way. I think if he had beams, he could probably, make do without, but I mean that, the boomerang now, like that we found all the way in the front of Escape, is certainly going to be, quite useful for backup.
Alright, Fox has a really good
nice.
laser bridge, and just absolutely textbook. Showing that once
That's a very difficult textbook, by the way. Like, it's very difficult, for to excute that. Buane, man.
Yes.
Oh
I love to see
this
this
so
123, 124 runners just total to put on a clinic. Showing Fox when he's in control, he nails it. And both of these runners, when they are losing time, has mostly just been to really bad luck here and there. I haven't seen too many cases of the runners quote unquote blowing it. Mostly just little, fluctuations in RNG here and there, and things like the 4 blue balls that Buane got earlier.
Yeah, we definitely, you know what, Buane has made his way, and he has actually, clawed back quite a bit of time, versus Fox, right? Both of them actually on Trinex. Looks like both backdoor strats getting, in this case, the 1 cycle. Again, textbook in this case.
Okay, Fox tells us he's actually not on pace. It's just really hard to tell because of the shopping difference, but we'll see coming out of here what happened. I'm going to guess that, I trust him, he knows the splits, but definitely some of the things that's happened to him in Turtle Rock are unfavorable. But this is a very good race right now. Both of them are in the Crystal cutscene at TR together, which is a treat.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, this is this is not necessarily even unexpected, right? 35-second PB difference, and in this case, very talented runners. So certainly would have expected probably a close race. But all things considered, though, Fox is going to be the first one into GT. GT, arguably, one of course, this is endgame. Gaina's Tower, I would say, is actually considered to be quite fun. But also, again, very, very challenging in terms of execution.
Fox actually saved a few frames on Magic Refill by doing Poke Dash Strat in Trinex. It's not a lot of frames, especially because he came in on a deficit already, but it does matter.
At this point, yes, Fox would probably like to keep his lead.
Yeah, so this is just absolutely, they're a screen par. This is an incredible race. This can come down to Ganon warps. There is another RNG segment where Ganon can just teleport as much as he wants before he lets you hit him.
Yeah, and of course, not only that, we also do, potentially do see some, we thought Agnum 1 was potentially bad. We are going to have to see 3 more of them at the top of GT as well. Not necessarily in terms of the number of blue balls that could be the difference, but in terms of Agnum patterns, I think you mentioned earlier, Malvo, you're talking about Lamellus, like actually one of the arguably the most, difficult and most maybe more like frustrating bosses to fight. Like, I don't know if there is an easy way or there is like a secret or anything in order to actually have a successful Agatu fight.
Agatu's impossible.
Like you can practice, you could just practice that boss for like hours and hours and, hundreds of hours, and I still don't know whether or not you're supposed to know, like, I'm supposed to spin here versus slash here versus anything.
Yeah, you can ask a bunch of 123, 124 levels which boss is the hardest, and I do think some of them will say Agatu and some of them will say Lanmo.
Mm-hmm.
Agatu is almost like harder to comprehend. Like, it's harder to know what you did wrong when Agatu goes wrong versus like Lanmo. It's like Lanmo, I just missed the arrow, but with Agatu, there's that meme of the woman with the math,
true.
like it's just like that going through your head the whole time. Both of them having a good gauntlet. I'm not sure where Buane took damage, but Fox is still on beams here. Both of them are on 1 bomb, which is what you want. You don't want to come in here with 9 like you can get with Poke Drops. Not that Fox got any, but, if he did, maybe he would have gotten Pokebombs and lost time here.
Oh.
And he gets that really hard mic arrow strat.
What a strat! Yeah, what a strat in order to open that chest. Like, I haven't usually seen that. I was gonna say, like, so Fox needed to get 10 more arrows before coming into Ice Armo, so I don't know if he was gonna get the one in the pot, which there's a 5 arrow drop in the pot north of the room, versus like the chest here, and the fact that he did it so quickly in order to get the chest and avoided damage from the anti-fairy is quite testament.
Yeah, Buane actually opted for the pot, which I'm surprised. I don't see people go for that a lot. No, but he did need something. He had 1 short going into the fight.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he had 12 arrows, yeah. And a chest turn for us for the last arrows. We do need, of course, a couple arrows going into Mimics 1 and Mimics 2 here in Upper GT. Yeah, and another thing about the... Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say, like, another thing that, the fact that it was also just really good for Fox in order to get the chest one and not get hit by the anti-fairy. Like, if you get hit by the anti-fairy, you also lose magic, and you really want in order to have a full magic bar basically up here as you start your GT climb. Like, there's a magic pot like under one of the pots in the very first room, but of course you don't want to necessarily waste time picking it up.
No, and you want to have the freedom to use magic in the gauntlet, because the gauntlet is it's a big segment of reacting to RNG, and some of the sort of correct ways to react is to fire a rod shot. FoxLisk going for a dash in this room, which is it's kind of like a double RNG read, similar to the Thieves Town hallway. And he gets the second bad RNG and gets hit. Wow, they're just one river bar.
I know. Yeah, but also for another reason, I think why they want to have a couple of extra arrows. Like, you only need 8 of them for mimics, right? But it's kind of seeing some extra arrows basically really going to help you trying to snipe some of these enemies away instead of having you to chase them down. Oh man.
Oh no. But he had a really good gauntlet too, where he fired an arrow after not getting the perfect RNG. Fired it just absolutely calculated. But he does fall a little bit behind. Fox gets some really bad RNG in Lambo 2. Lambo 2 can get you. I mean, the world record has a 2 cycle here. Sometimes the Lambo just goes... he got 2 that went down, and it's so hard to chase after both that you just have to cut your losses and go for a quick 2 cycle. Buane has a better fight. Both of them stay mostly centered.
Yeah, really nice. Being able to use Kinesamara there for, of course, the quick kill Wizrobes. And yeah, like part of, again, the magic management of the Gauntlet and the upper GT portion is actually very well planned and optimized. Like, you just have just enough magic basically to have like a really fast time. There's just Fox using the lamp here in order to get make sure that he can get the last torch with the fire rod. Then we're going to pick up some big magic and then not going to worry about magic for the rest of the game.
Buane has to pick up the pot and wait for the magic to refill before. If you don't wait, you will get a text box yelling at you to watch your magic meter.
Yes, that is true. It's like, yeah, you don't have enough magic to use the fire rod, silly. And yeah, we already suffered through enough large talk through the entire game. Like, we got maidens, we got Sahasrara, we got our uncle. Like, we don't need any more talk from our items.
Okay, question for you. Which NPC is the one nagging Link about watching his magic meter? Is it Sahasrara, or is it Zelda, or is it his uncle?
Oh,
or is it someone else?
I thought that's actually a really good question.
I think it's Sahasrara, right? I think it's Sahasrara. He's also the one who tells you to get Ice Rod for Lambo 2, or Lambo 1, which is actually really good advice because that fight is terrible without it. Little does he know it's also terrible with the Ice Rod, so...
yeah, that's true. It's like, I think we should just maybe try to go and find the fire rod and Skullwood instead.
I think we should all move our shopping to Eastern Palace.
Exactly. Yes. I think we could do that. No logic, right?
Or desert, I guess. In that case, there is a clip between Eastern and Ice Rod. How did you know that?
Oh my god! Alright, Fox having a really nice start to Aga 2. His first one.
This could be a double triple, but it's a blue ball.
But it's not because of blue balls. Wait, not having not having as friendly partners. He got the double first cycle. That is a triple second cycle, so we're gonna have potentially 3. Yeah, that was actually a really hard pattern to nail for the third one. Doesn't matter. He got his 1 hit on third cycle, so we are a flute travel away. Basically different from going into Ganon.
And this is where those warps come in.
Yeah, that's actually very true. Right. That's right. One of the last major portions of RNG is, of course, both runners, of course, with Temper Sword needs to get, 1 cycle, basically for phases 1 and 2 each. That is very possible with Temper Sword. We don't actually need the Gold Sword in order to do that. But yeah, as we go into phase 3, that is going to be the place where we can't really control any type of more time lost on our hands to Ganon.
Fox gets what I consider the easiest RNG, but really there's only one RNG that actually saves time, and that's mid left, and he doesn't get that. Neither does Buane. So phase 1's hard to save time on, really easy to lose time on, of course, if you mess up. Phase 3 really though is what we'll be watching, and phase 4.
Alright, sorry, Buane starting phase 3. Fox already in phase 3.
Fox gets really favorable warps. How many was that? Like 1?
That actually looks pretty good.
Let's hope Buane also gets like 1 or none. That's good. I think he got a very low number as well.
Yeah, that's right. So basically just a couple spins different. Sorry, Fox does get, at this point, of course, Torch Glitch is requisite. It does get it with the lamp. So not necessarily having magic management issues, but lamp is certainly a lot safer in order to get the fire rod, to get the Torch Glitch.
I think that is a I know I'm ahead strat, because he knows that if he has a good phase 4, he can afford to use the lamp here and not lose. He's already off pace, so he doesn't have to worry about PBing. Although,
are we
he was
really
right? He was really good, close to. He's only gotten a handful of 124s. Any 124 is special.
Wow! Holy cow! It was what, like a 1 or 2 spin difference, basically, between Buane and Fox. Holy cow!
Very close, and very close to the 124 too. Not quite, but just an incredible run from both players.
Yeah. Oh wow. I mean, yeah. Get your GGs in chat for this. Is quite the difference in terms of time. 4-second difference between Fox and Buane, but Fox managed to eke out a win over Buane. So GGs. This is actually a pretty good run for Buane as well, by the way. He did get 4 blue balls. He clawed back a lot of time in the end game, which is, I think, really where he also does really shine.
Yeah, and he got that gold?
Yeah.
The golden
that's
swamp?
right, Golden Swamp. Yeah, that's right. And probably the roughest parts for him were just in Light World. Like, he unfortunately got knocked off in Hera, and I think he ended up getting a little bit bullied in Escape. But, I mean, like, once he landed in Dark World, he was just gaming.
I forgot about the Moldorm Fall. See, remember? Here's a little quiz for you. What happened in the Escape? I bet you forgot, because the Escape doesn't matter.
That's true. Alright, I'm sorry. I was looking at 125 per time. I was looking at the runner's individual timers. Buane says 125.10, and then Boxa says 125.06. So, but I will defer to race time. Hopefully, we can get these guys in for a little chat. Talk about the scene. the scene. Talk about the race. Well, we are joined here by Buane. GG's Buane.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
Don't do drugs in the light world.
Did you? We didn't see you pick up the mushroom though. Did you?
I mean, it wouldn't have been that much slower than what we were doing. Seems like this was a good race. Fun to watch. Dramatic.
Oh.
Twists and turns.
Very dramatic.
Yeah. So
like this, you had some really clutch moments. I think the Hammer Jump and IPDJ both ended at some last minute buffers, and the that Moldorm where you were teetering on the edge for what felt like 5 seconds and not falling was also amazing to watch.
Yeah.
GG's.
Yo, what's up, Fox? GG's.
Yo, GG's, Fox.
It's funny because there were obviously lots and lots of mistakes, but it was one of those runs that was super frustrating because I felt like I was playing really well. There's just sometimes you feel like you are like really tuned in, and there's other times that you're doing a run, you're like, man, I really just don't feel it today. And sometimes it's kind of independent of the times that you're putting up. Clearly I was making some very, very big mistakes, but I was having some stretches that were so good, like my Aga Tower and parts of Pod and Thieves and Skull. And then Swamp Palace was an insane pace for the whole thing.
That's a real gold, right?
Yeah, that's a real gold. And it was like almost 2 seconds lost on Argus because it was the really slow zero cycle. So
there's such a thing as a slow zero cycle.
Yeah, if he gives you the real fast where like the last puff dies and he goes up right away, that's a lot faster than what I had. But I mean, the swamp pace was just nuts. I felt like I was playing really well, just kept making just back-breaking, humongous mistakes, and can't do that against somebody as good as Fox. So I don't know what the heck happened to Fox. I'll be honest. So fill me in on how I was given like a second chance in this one.
Well, I had a pretty sloppy swamp, just like messy. And then Turtle Rock, I just every single thing went wrong in Turtle Rock. It was just a disaster. I did long swamp shopping, so I don't know, but I mean, I probably lost 35 seconds in Turtle Rock or something. I screwed up Poke 1 really badly, and I screwed up Poke 2 really badly, and I had to use Boom and Crystal Roller, and I don't know, it was just a nightmare, beginning to end, basically.
You got 0 drops from the Pokés.
That didn't help.
Did he make
but
it?
Like it was just I should have handled everything so much better. Yeah, I was Scoople. That was the problem.
See, that's funny, because the way I usually race is I'll check in on my opponent from time to time. Crystal cutscenes, waiting for the statue to move in pod, things like that. So when I checked in and I saw you were like plus 50 in Swamp, I was like, I don't even have an explanation. I don't know what the heck's going on with his Swamp, but now we're back in it. So it's funny that was like fake, because I'm thinking like we're back in it after your Swamp. And really, you just done some extra shopping, and then I got actually back in it the next time I looked.
I lost like at least 10 actual seconds. Also, it was also a very bad swamp. But yeah,
the deficit was larger than 10 seconds coming out of Ice Palace. So I was kind of like, sure. I was teetering on the edge. It's actually fun. Like, despite being like a minute behind, you're in a tournament race. You're like really still dialed into the run, which is a nice change of pace if your run is bad by plus whatever PB. So that was kind of fun to be in Dark World a minute behind, but still like really, really dialed into the run and trying to just squeeze as many seconds out of every split. So really nice change of pace. It's just fun to play these things, but couldn't claw back enough time, even with the 0 warp cannon, I guess.
Oh, you got 0 warp. I only got 1 warp. I actually did lamp torch glitch because I saw I was like several seconds ahead falling into Ganon, and I got 1 warp, and I was just like, whatever, I'll still win if I do lamp torch glitch. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And then I only won I was expecting to win by like 10 seconds, and the fact that you got 0 warps explains that and made it a lot closer than it should have been, or than I was expecting it to be. I
considered going for the hover in GT, and then my GT was so bad I didn't want to embarrass myself. So who knows what could have happened? But yeah, it was
I
fun
should do
race.
this.
It's just fun playing these. So just it's why everybody shows up when anybody in the community does events like this, and it's just it's even extra fun when everybody watching gets to see like a super close race, even if it's not an A+ game from either runner.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
If it was an A+ game, it would have been exciting to see both PB, but also the race would, it's how we get these close races, right? Is things happen, and instead of resetting, you have to just roll with it. And seeing how runners roll with it is what makes these tournaments fun.
Yeah,
it
was
mean,
actually really
honestly,
cool.
like even just being a minute or whatever over PB, it's not even that bad for a tournament run. Honestly, it's not the worst.
I do get the unfortunate distinction of being the first one to win, arguably because of blue ball luck.
I don't know if that's really a thing, but
I don't know either, but it's less than the difference that I saved on blue balls.
Did you get 0? I assumed it was kind of
I got
0
0,
when
yeah.
you said, "Oh God," in the chat.
Yeah.
That can only mean one thing. Yeah, I think I had 4. So whatever. I mean, I could have very easily made it not come down to blue balls, or if we both had. It's stupid to go back to that. Like I'm not sitting here thinking, "Dang, blue ball luck," and meanwhile, like I made 700 mistakes, and you probably feel the same way. Like how else do you end a run and not feel like you made 700 mistakes, whatever your time is? So now you just hope that it's a good race and nobody has like any major deaths or anything like that. So mission accomplished.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. You guys didn't die at all. I think the only probably like major thing that was like kind of close to was like you think you took a fall on Moldorm. I think that was probably the only major thing that kind of happened. There were kind of a couple of real sweating moments for you, Fox and Turtle Rock, with the pokies.
Yeah.
Those T-Rock pokies are somewhat of a nemesis early on in this tournament league.
Yeah, I just blew it in solidarity. It wasn't it was on purpose.
Very magnanimous of you. Yeah, I don't know. My light world looks super bad, but really it was just a little bit of an unfortunate landmo, and then everything I could do wrong in Hera I did. Like just the dumbest things on Moldorm. Just Moldorm 101 teaches you not to do these things. Well, I guess somebody has to be the goofus in this analogy.
It was actually really cool seeing basically like you claw back as much time as you did playing like in Dark World.
I mean, you kind of like. So I'm looking at the times coming into Dark World. All right, we're like plus 50 or whatever it was, almost 50. So, all right, I'm just gonna put on my airy hat and go Terminator here and claw back 5 seconds in every split and feel really good. And then you just start like messing up, and you're plus 9 on all your goals to start Dark World. And you're like, okay, that's not gonna happen. Apparently, you have to be really, really good to do that just on demand. And then your opponent makes a bunch of big mistakes and let you back in. That's the way to do it if you're not airy.
Okay, so keep that in mind in the future weeks when you do get to eventually face airy.
I'll be honest, it has been a tried and true tournament strategy for me in A Link to the Past is have your opponent make mistakes. It really is the most foolproof strategy.
That's plan A, yeah. Plan B, it's a very distant second place plan is playing well. Really you want your opponent to mess up.
Okay, well, that there is certainly potential for that for next week. So it looks like at least for this week, I guess we're done, right? Of course, unless you want to keep just racing for fun.
I mean, I'll be honest. I want to do another run right now because I feel like I was playing really well tonight. I can't. It's too late, and I have to go to bed. I'm like a geriatric person here. But it was that was the most frustrating thing. When you're playing well and just putting up bad times, it feels so bad in this game. I'm really, really happy about the Swamp Gold because at least that like I feel like I stopped being so mad at myself after I was like, hey, I got a big ass gold. That's gotta be okay, even if I'm going to get buried in this race. And then it turned out that we were right neck and neck, so even better. Like it was, you know, the most fun plus 115 run you can really have.
It was quite good to watch for us. Any more thoughts though before we kind of like start wrapping these up?
Nah, just GG's to Fox. Good luck winning even. You're just winning 2 games in this, so you're going to be against all the 1-0 players next week. Good luck.
Oh,
it's a gauntlet. If I can get like 2 wins out of this, my next couple ones, that's going to be pretty dang good.
Yeah, there's not going to be many easy races in this. Yeah,
No.
GG's, and thanks to ZSR for hosting us, and Malmo and Clear Mouse for doing comms. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure
It
as
was a ton of
always.
fun. Mm-hmm.
Yep, GG's to both of our runners, Buane and FoxLisk. Give them both a follow. Shoutouts also to our 2 commentators, Claire Mouse and Melmo here, doing great work on the commentary team. Was a good one to watch. Let's see. Coming up ahead on the ZSR schedule, we've got lots and lots and lots of Link to the Past, both vanilla and randomizer coming up here. We've got ourselves this. We've got the Link to the Past Randomizer Cross Keys tournament, the Link to the Past Randomizer Casual Boots tournament we'll be doing racing for us soon. We've also got the Tales of the Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup finals. We've also got qualifiers for the Majora's Mask Randomizer, Good for Randomizer Standard Tournament, Season 3 and Season 5 tournaments. We've got our regular weekly races, the Zelda 2 Randomizer tournament starting up next week. If you want Zelda action, there is a lot to be had for the LTP and otherwise. So coming up tomorrow, currently we have one race on the schedule, another NMG League match, World Round 1 between Sleevey and Trinex. I'm sure we'll be adding at least one Cross Keys, ALTPR Cross Keys match to the schedule. We've got more qualifier races coming up, and the ALTPR Challenge Cup Grand Finals Game 2 between Dr. Diabetes and Far Purdue will be Saturday at 1:10 p.m. Eastern if you want to check that out in particular. But this shall be it for us here. We are going to go over and say hi to Latebit. He is doing some, speaking of cross keys, he's doing some Link the Past Randomizer cross keys ladder here. It looks like he is about an hour 40 in. Let's wish him luck with that. And thanks for watching all. We will see you next time.